Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/spookshow. Then go over to morbidlybeautiful.com as we are now part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcasting Network.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! You're too! You're too! You're too!
Everybody here dies by dawn. Dead by dawn!
Welcome to the Spookshow. Hello and welcome back to the All-American Spookshow podcast. We're giving you a bonus episode this week, and we like to call this series the Re-Rental, where we go back and we talk briefly about a past episode, and it also gives Donnie and or Tiana, since they weren't on a lot of those original episodes, a chance to speak on it and re-rate it, or, rate it, I should say, that they weren't there to do it to begin with. Anyways, gives them a chance to rate it. And we figured this week it will be a good time to revisit The Wolfman from 1941 because the new Wolfman just came out in theaters. Now, none of us have had a chance to see it, but has anyone heard anything good, bad, or indifferent about it yet?
See, I haven't necessarily heard anything good about it. I'll put it that way. But that's all I have heard about it.
Yeah, pretty much as soon as I saw Blumhouse was attached, like there went my, I was just like, oh, great.
I get fooled every time by Blumhouse because, like, on one hand, you're like, let's give them a chance. They've got this property. You never know. Maybe this will be the time. Because, every once in a while, like they say, the sun shines on a dog's ass. So, like, every once in a while, they can put out something that's, entertaining. It just seems that over the last few years, it's been less and less, right? So, I haven't, like you said, Smoke, I haven't heard that much positive about it.
Yeah.
I think some of what I've heard is the look of the werewolf that some people.
Yeah, the look and also the fact that I don't know, but I've heard that it takes a long time. It's like not like a transformation where boom, he's growing hair and his snout comes out and he's doing it's like a super prolonged transformation from what I've heard. Almost like it's a disease rather than a metamorphosis or whatever.
Also, too, I think I read or saw somewhere where it's supposed to be kind of from the perspective of the monster, this movie, which that's always kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, you can see the gears turning because, like, okay, we had what was that slasher movie that was from the perspective in a violent nature?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once
so
again,
you can almost see the gears like, oh, okay, so they did that. Let's take it to Wolfman and make it from his perspective.
I think the problem goes back to what Donnie said. In premise, that sounds like, this could be interesting, but it's Blumhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, you got to temper expectations. But it was Lee Winnell, right, who was in the first Saw movie, and he's had some stuff. He directed
some
it.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Upgrade was good.
Upgrade.
I love Invisible Man.
Upgrade was great.
Upgrade. I agree with that. I personally wasn't that big a fan of Invisible Man, but Upgrade, I would say, is good, really good. I'd like to revisit that one, do that one on the show at some point.
So there's at least that. And look, we're not going to completely shit on something we haven't seen, right? This is just the word on the street, so to speak. I'm sure we will watch it. One of us will watch it, and at some point, or we'll do it here on the show, and we'll find out. But
Well, I knew it was kind of not probably going to be that great because it was supposed to come out last year.
Yeah, then there's that.
Got delayed. Then HHN brought out this thing where you could get a photo op with the wolf himself, and he looked like a disaster. So bad that people were crapping on it, and they pulled it. And then they decided, we're going to drop this in January. And you know how January horror movies are. They're usually shit.
Yeah.
So
every once in a blue, there might be one, but very rarely, you're right, it's shit.
Yeah.
Because I remember the one from last year was Night Swim. That was January 2024's release, and that was one of my worst of the year. So, yeah.
Though, like, I have to say that one movie that came out, The Damned, that was a January release. And I thought, for your typical January movies not being that great, I thought that was really good. It's just that I didn't really get fully on board with the climax of it. But I thought it was much better than your typical January horror release.
I will say I think that January rule kind of applies to big studio releases.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one was a smaller budgeted co-production or whatever with a couple of different countries.
You
So,
just
yeah,
know,
probably doesn't
generally
really count.
speaking, in January and February here in the United States, the weather sucks and people just don't like going to the movies. So this is
True.
where you dump the movies just to, well, we made it. Fuck it. Here we go. But like I said, we'll reserve total judgment.
I will have to say this though. One thing that this new Wolfman movie did make me realize I need to do is revisit or at least finish watching the Wolfman from 20 whatever it was, the one that had Benicio del Toro in it.
Yeah. Now that one, I haven't seen it since it came out, but at the time I was like, I didn't hate it. It's not the best thing, but I didn't hate it. So it would be interesting,
me and
15,
Tiana
20
started
years
watching it, but we didn't finish it. Well, I mean, not because we hated it, but again, it's one of those things where we started it and never got back to it.
Yeah.
And it was back then when it first came out on video or whatever, or Netflix or whatever it was we watched on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I never got to it at all.
you want to
I saw some stuff from people like kind of, I don't know if they were necessarily comparing it, but they were showing some scenes from that one. I'm like, yeah, it's fully CG, a lot of CG in there. But it was gothic horror, which was cool because you realize, remember the original Wolfman wasn't technically gothic horror. It took place in the year really that it was in 1941. I guess
it was in the 40s.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be a gothic horror. People kind of in their mind they kind of see it as gothic horror because it's a Universal monster movie, but it wasn't. But that Benicio del Toro one did take it back to like a gothic style of era, that it was set in. So yeah, if anything else, this movie has made me want to go watch that movie.
Well, to that, that's the biggest reason why we're here today. We're going to represent the full episode that we did all the way back in episode 61, I believe it was, of the Spook Show, and that's the Wolfman from 1941. Tiana, you were not on the show back then, so any thoughts on that Universal classic and your what's your star rating on it?
Oh, that's a good one. That's the best of the best, and I don't think anybody could ever compete to that. I definitely give that up there 4 stars.
Yeah, and that's not far off from what we said at the time, which, you'll get to our ratings later here in the episode because we're going to replay it. So with adding yours in, that brings it up to 3.5, pretty much 3.5 out of 5 stars. So obviously, if you've never seen that, what the hell's wrong with you? We highly recommend it. Go check it out. And this is probably a good time to mention, too, that we are a spoiler-filled podcast. So what you're about to hear is the original airing of The Wolfman, 1941, where we played it during the Summer of the Wolf. I want to say that was back in 2021, if memory serves me correctly. I don't remember when we did the Summer of the Wolf event.
I believe it was 21.
Yeah, 2021. So, just remember that everything you hear, we're going to spoil the movie. So, and then you'll hear our final thoughts and all that jazz. So, we had a lot of good times with that. But, the one thing I wanted to remind everybody of before we do that is that it's a good time of the year, coming up after the holidays. You're getting close to Valentine's Day here, so it's a good chance to kind of take stock of where you are mentally, your mental health, your mental wealth, so to speak. And one good way to do that is to try out Magic Mind. This is something we've talked about for a while, and we've been talking about it this month because we've partnered up with them, and we have a good little rate for you. But the good thing here is that when you take Magic Mind, don't think of it as like an energy shot, right, Donnie? It's more like kind of helps you focus. They call them mental performance shots. So, that they're not necessarily, it's kind of in that same vein, but not quite, right? Like it helps you focus on what's the task in front of you, right?
Yeah. And for me, it's one thing that it helps me with is productivity. I have a hard time focusing at work, and part of the reason is because my job sucks. But
Magic Mind can't help you with that.
Yeah.
But it can help you stay focused at your sucky job.
It's true.
So there you go. But they have this new thing where they're calling like a 24-hour performance pack or something like that, where basically you get mental wealth shots, right? You get those mental performance shots. You get those. You drink those every day. That helps you kind of stay focused throughout the day. But then it comes with these sleep shots that you drink right before you go to bed, and that not only helps you calm you, helps you lay down and rest easy at night, but when you wake up in the morning, you'll feel more refreshed because you got a good night's rest, and you're able to kind of slowly get into the day. You're ready, more ready for it instead of dragging out of bed like we all do, right? So I think it's something that could, it's helped us out. It can help you out. And if you want to go over to magicmind.com/spookshowjan, you'll get 45% off of this 24-hour pack. That's what they're calling it. So you'll get a bundle of the two different, products here. You'll get that mental productivity shot, and you'll also get that sleep shot that will help you rest and wake up fresh and ready to go for the next day. So you can grab that 24-hour pack at 45% off now through our exclusive link, magicmind.com/spookshowjan. Let's build our mental wealth together. With that, I guess we'll go ahead and toss to the original airing of The Wolfman from 1941, as we did it all the way back in episode 61 during the Summer of the Wolf. So here you go.
Tonight I will kill all of you. You're mine!
Whoever is bitten by a werewolf and lives becomes a werewolf himself.
Beware the moon, David.
I'm going now. Heaven help you.
This is the All-American Spook Show, bringing you the Summer of the Wolf.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the All-American Spook Show podcast. As always, I'm Josh, and I'm joined here with my friend Will.
Hey, hey.
Donnie.
Hey.
And the Professor Smoke.
What's up, Boolies?
We are all here today inside Spookshow Studios for the first time ever. We're all in the same place at the same time. So the audio is going to be halfway decent this time around. As usual, it's kind of, two or three of us are on Skype. Usually I'm the only one in the studio, so bear with us. We're kind of working through some of it, that we're not used to doing this all in the same room together, because I really don't like looking at you guys. So it's throwing me off my game because I have to see your face. But anyways, yeah, we're starting off the Summer of the Wolf series here today with The Wolfman from 1941. I guess before we get too deep into it, I'll go ahead and throw out the usual information. You can email us any comments or any fuck yous or whatever to allamericanspookshow@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at @AASpookShow. Of course, we're over on Instagram, Facebook. You should be able to find us there by searching for All American Spook Show. We have a TeePublic page where you can go and find our logoed merchandise. We've got the newer look here that we debuted back in March. All that stuff's on there. The older logos, some other designs that we've come up with. You can find that there. Of course, we have the YouTube page. You can find that by searching All American Spook Show. And we've been trying to be better about loading some stuff up on there here recently. So hopefully we'll get better about updating it with the latest episodes so you can listen to them over on there. If you're not, really wanting to look around for your latest, or for the latest episodes on your podcast catchers and all that, you can go on YouTube and watch those. We also have a Patreon. That's patreon.com/AASpookShow. Every Tuesday and Thursday, usually in the evening, but at some point on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you're going to get a new video mini-sode. Generally, that's myself and Donnie and the Professor, because Will's usually on assignment every time we go to record one of those, so he's usually not on those. But
a lot of research to be done.
Yeah, a lot of background digging and working that has to go on. That you see the fruits of his labor later on, just not on those video minisodes.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, those have been fun, and we're going to be switching it up, doing some other cool things there. And like I said, this is the Summer of the Wolf. So basically, what this is all summer long, all the way through the end of August, we're going to be watching werewolf movies. Some of them, I'd say most of them, if you're listening to this, you probably like these and have watched them over the years, or there might be a couple in here you haven't watched yet, so we'll get to those. But I'll go ahead and run down the list of what's coming this summer, just as a tease to what to expect from now until the end of August. Of course, like I said, today we're going to be talking about The Wolfman from 1941, like arguably the one that kind of started it all, right, as far as like the modern werewolf movie. Then in 2 weeks we're going to be watching Wolf Cop from 2014, which is one I think we've all seen. Well, no, Will, you said you haven't seen this one, right?
No, like most things.
Yeah, like most of these, you probably haven't seen it, but that one's pretty good. I've seen that. Donnie, you said you
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it a couple
Smoke, I
times.
don't even ever have to ask you that. I know you've seen it.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe-
what
maybe
is this
once.
wolf cop you speak?
How dare you?
Then after that, we're going to be watching another classic from 1981, An American Werewolf in London. Then after that, 2 weeks after that, episode 64, we're going to be watching Ginger Snaps from 2000. I have not seen that myself.
I have not. No.
No.
Well, I'm not asking you because Smoke, have you seen that one?
Yeah, Ginger Snaps I've seen a couple times, and I think we're going to be in for a little bit of a treat here. I have confidence. I think all of you are going to enjoy it to certain degrees.
I enjoy getting to check out the ones that like at least 2 or 3 of us haven't seen. That's always kind of fun.
And there's been a couple times where none of us have seen the movie. Not too many times, but I mean, there's been a few that we've done that none of us.
Yeah, that's rare air.
Yeah, those are always fun.
Those are more new release things.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, well, yeah. Then there's that. Yeah. Then after that, we're going to be 2 weeks after Ginger Snaps, episode 64, 65. We're going to be watching The Howling, another from 1981, which that's another werewolf horror movie classic for sure. And then we're going to be wrapping up the Summer of the Wolf at the end of August. I think that's the last Monday in August, episode 66. That will be another Wolf Cop from 2017. Now, I haven't seen that one.
That'll be one that I think that I just mentioned that none of us have seen because I haven't seen it yet either.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
So you'll have that one to look forward to. We'll hold off until the end of August for that. So that'll wrap up the Summer of the Wolf. Like I said, at the end of August. Then we'll start the sprint towards getting to, like we said in our video minisode the other day, our WrestleMania, the month of October.
Yeah.
We're still working on a lot of what we've got planned there, but needless to say, we're going to have some cool special episodes that month, not just the regular movie review episodes. I mean, there'll be a couple of those in there for sure, but we've got some other things in the workings there. So definitely, it's time to strap up and get ready for the Summer of the Wolf, and then the month of October, we'll have some special stuff. All right, Smoke, so you weren't here on the last episode when we talked about The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, so we'll go ahead and get your star rating, and also we'll get the gore score, because we kind of took a stab at it to see what you would come up with for that, so, you can give us both that and your general thoughts about the movie.
Okay, yeah. I was on assignment. I'm doing the quote marks, the quotation finger sign marks, in Universal Studios. And they have a theater down there. I don't know if y'all have been to it before. It's in the City Walk, and that's where me and my wife watched it. And I went into it with expectations. I just went into it not really knowing what to expect from it. Whether it's going to be good or bad or what. The theater was awesome, though. By the way, that theater was nice.
Yeah.
It was a great place to see any movie in that theater. But
that's almost like me saying, well, the credits were nice.
It was a good place to start.
Yeah.
Well, the lights go down. Trailers come after trailers. Movie comes up. 10 minutes in, I'm like, yeah, I'm digging this. This is pretty good. This is probably a little bit better than what I expected. Was expecting from the third Conjuring movie. And then, nosedive after that, pretty much.
I think we all kind of agreed on that front. Like, that first 10 or 15 minutes was tight, and then.
Yeah. One thing I'd forgotten about when I was watching the movie, until I think we were maybe talking afterwards or whatever later on, was that it was directed by the same guy that did
Michael Chavez.
Yeah, Michael Chavez that did Curse of La Llorona, and everybody knows from our rating and everybody's rating on this, how we feel about that movie. I don't know why they gave it to him to do this movie, but yeah, take that first 10 minutes, and that's all I really enjoyed from it. After that, I'm sitting there thinking, we could be riding the Mummy or Velocicoaster again or something.
Yeah, we could be enjoying Universal Studios right now.
So I was not too impressed after that first, like I said, that first 10, 12 minutes, whatever. My rating for it, I'm gonna go with.
Just to be fair, since I know you listened to the episode since then.
Yeah.
Donnie, you gave it 2 3/4 stars. Will, you gave it 2.5 stars. And then I gave it 2 3/4 stars.
I was thinking along the lines of 1.5 stars.
Wow. Fair enough.
It's just not. Yeah. I just didn't. Like I said, that if I could rate it on that first 10 minutes, I'd rate it at least 3 stars, 3.5 maybe even. But everything else that came after it just tanked for me.
I think we all kind of gave it a little bonus maybe because they were trying to do something different with this movie.
Yeah. and it didn't have the scares that the other ones had.
No.
There were some moments.
There were some
a
moments.
couple. Yeah.
There was even the jump scares were few and far between. Like you kind of expect jump scares from the Conjuring universe movies.
Once again, you got some of the best right out at the beginning.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and then after
best
that
moments and best scares probably right there.
Yep.
Yeah, the only other thing I would add is that you wonder why they gave this movie to Michael Chavez to do that, but this was a movie that was The Conjuring 3 was essentially delayed due to COVID.
Oh yeah,
like a lot of other ones was. But from what I recall, The Curse of La Llorona came out right around the time that this was also being shot. I want to think it was the same year, and they were just like, okay, natural transition. I don't know why the fuck they thought that, but I mean, now granted, I could be completely wrong, but they were just like, okay. But yeah, the same year that this started shooting was, when La Llorona wrapped.
And just because we can.
Gore score.
So what do you think?
Yeah, this one, no, not a whole lot of gore, I would say. I would say there's been other Conjuring universe movies that have had more. I think I'm gonna go land on about I'll go dead in the middle, kind of a 5. I think I'll go with this.
What
one.
did we say? 4 or 5?
About a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I call 5.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
All right, Will.
There you go.
All right.
So you're the big winner at the craps table.
It kind of let me down in a
shame.
lot of areas. If you're not going to have the scares, and you're not going to go in that different. Maybe up the ante on the gore. It is an R-rated movie after all. You want it to be an R-rated movie. Why not give it a little bit more on the other end of that?
Like we said, I don't think it was a bad movie, and I admire them for trying something different.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely, I guess, for giving that dude that did The Curse of La Llorona, Chavez, or yeah. For some reason, I can't ever get this guy's name right in my head. Yeah. I think I've said
Chavis.
Yeah, Chavis. But anyways, Chavez. I admire them for giving that guy another chance in this universe, but I don't know if he's necessarily the answer moving forward in the Conjuring universe. So I guess we'll find out whenever we see the next one at some point or another in the next couple of years. But
hey, down the road, whenever we do our reassessment, I don't know. Again, some of these movies sometimes like I said, I tried to go in with no expectations at all whatsoever. It's hard to do that sometimes when you're talking about a sequel to big movies
we mentioned
whatnot,
that too,
or remakes and things of that nature.
Especially
like
in this one where there's literally 2 other Conjuring movies and 7 other movies total.
Yeah.
Which we just talked about that on a recent video minisode, how they're saying The Curse of La Llorona. Well, I don't know if we ever talked to you about that. How they're saying The Curse of La Llorona is now not part of the Conjuring universe.
JK.
That's from Michael Chavez, the guy that directed it. I guess they were doing the press rounds with this one, and he said that. It was just meant to be a cute little nod with the Annabelle Flash and Father Perez being in it.
He's full of shit.
Yeah, like we said, that's horse shit. You got the guy in the movie.
It's happenstance that he's got the same name and is the same actor.
Yeah,
yeah.
Playing the exact same role.
A nod would be like something in the background somewhere that was like you said, like maybe an Annabelle was sitting in the background out of focus.
I think we pointed out what was it? Aquaman had Annabelle sitting in the background.
That's a nod.
That's a nod, a playful nod. Not this. That's a direct connection. So screw him for that. But yeah, there you go. I guess before we get into the background here with the Wolfman and everything, I'll go ahead and toss to the trailer for The Wolfman from 1941.
Seven jugular. That's the way Johnny Williams was killed? Yes. Find something? Animal tracks.
Whoever is bitten by a werewolf and lives becomes a werewolf himself.
Oh, don't hand me that. You're just wasting your time.
The wolf bit you, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he did. You wouldn't want to run away with a murderer, would you?
Oh, Larry, you're not. You know you're not.
I killed Bela. I killed Richardson. If I stay here any longer, you can't tell who'll be next.
All right, so there you go. That's the trailer for The Wolfman from 1941. So I guess we'll go around the table here at Spookshow Studios, and We'll start with you, Donnie. Have you sit down and watched this movie before? And if not, either way, what are your initial reactions of it? Before we get into the grading later.
You know what, man? I've seen this a couple of times before, and I always enjoy it. Delving into the nostalgia, the Wolfman. This is the one that set the benchmark. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it each time I watch it.
Will, what about you? Is this the first time you sit down and watch it?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time I've seen this one. It's definitely a clear difference in quality from, what was that, Jesse James and The Bride of Frankenstein. and
well,
the only
yeah.
reason
How dare you?
But the only reason I bring that one up, though, is
because that's before this, that's the oldest one we watched.
It's the oldest one we watched, but also, like, the pacing is god-awful. Like, this one kept going. It had a nice flow to it. It was a pretty good, I don't know, like, reveal of what a movie could be back then.
And Smoke, I'm not going to ask if this is the first time you watched this, but can you maybe take us back to the first time you watched it? Go back and talk about that.
The first time I watched it was probably on. I'm sure it was on TV, and I was young. Showing it on whatever station, rerun or whatever. And I don't fully remember that experience when I first watched it, but actually the first Wolfman movie I saw was Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. That one was kind of ingrained in my mind first, just because it was an earlier one, and it was not necessarily as good as this one was, but it's just the first one I saw, so it's the one that sticks with me.
And I think that's actually the direct sequel to this one, right? Well, direct, quote unquote. Like, I don't think they ever had a direct sequel to this.
Nah.
He just kind of popped up in other movies, right?
And he popped up in some of the other ones, like House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, where they had like a monster mash, so to speak.
I guess that's kind of what the Universal monsters became at that point. Was like, all right, let's just throw them all together instead of having solo movies.
But yeah, then I saw it countless sort of times throughout the years. I mean, the Wolfman is maybe not. He's not the oldest of the monsters, characters in the folklore and everything and all that. But and also a lot of the stuff they had to make for the Wolfman movies, they did from scratch, because there's not nearly as much folklore on the werewolf as there is on the vampires and things.
Yeah, especially like you got Dracula, which is based on probably Bram Stoker's story, right? And
I mean, there were some short stories,
Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and everything like that. So like this is the one they had to kind of probably
make up a lot of it.
Yeah,
as they went along in the movie, and in fact that whole line that gets repeated throughout it about even a man who's pure in heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright. A lot of people thought, that's the part of European folklore. It came from this or that. But then the writer, Kurt Siodmak, said that he just made it up.
Yeah. It's funny in the movie, too. Like, every time you turn around, somebody's like, oh, yeah, werewolf. Well, here we go. Here's that poem again.
And Larry Talbot's like, oh, you know that, too, huh?
Yeah.
Everybody but him seemed to know that.
Yeah, and he's from there, right? Like, wouldn't the story, like, he grew up in this area and then moved away to America or something to do something else, and then all of a sudden he's back, and he's the only one that's got, like, a Brooklyn accent or some shit, an American accent and all the rest.
Just real quick, any of y'all, poem, go.
Roses are red.
What's new, a man from Nantucket?
Yeah.
Finish on.
Yeah. Go ahead and run its course there, buddy. Yeah, I'm kind of like you, Smoke. Like, I don't remember the first time I watched this, and it was probably like Saturday matinee.
And a lot of those monster
local
movies kind of
TV.
bleed into each other when you think about
True.
the first times that you saw them.
Yeah.
And
honestly, for me, this one I probably haven't watched as much as like some of the other ones that he's in.
Like Bride of Frankenstein.
And
whatnot.
But I have seen this one a number of times before, and this one's always. It's been a while since I watched it though. Like from front to back, sit down and just watch it whole like this. Yeah. It's been a while. Can't even tell you the last time. But so yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and get into a little bit of the background. As far as a rating, it's one of those older movies where it just says passed. It doesn't really have like PG, whatever the hell. What would you probably rate it? I mean, like probably around
an
PG.
X. Oh,
yeah, I don't think so.
Oh,
probably PG.
Yeah,
right.
PG.
Yeah. No more than PG-13 just because somebody dies, but no higher, no worse than that. The total runtime of this is 1 hour and 10 minutes. So these are the ones you like. It's not a marathon. Like we went through a few marathons on here, and like this ain't one of them.
But that was the general sort of, I guess, that might be the average running time of a movie around that time, as far as not too many more lasted more than 1 hour and 20.
Yeah, yeah. And were drive-ins, like when this came out, and like, well, I'll say it, this came out December 12th, 1941. Were drive-ins really a thing by then, or was that kind of...
I don't think they had quite... I mean, I could be wrong. I
mean, they might have existed, but they may not have been popular.
Not on the
Yeah.
I would
like
say
the way
probably
they did in the
like, at most, late
So if you went
at earliest,
if you
like
went and
late
saw this
40s.
back then in 1941, you would have been seeing this at like a local.
Yeah.
Yeah, now
one
they
or
had
two screen
I know
movie
they had a
theater.
huge resurgence in, I guess in the in the 50s, right before actually Hammer films. Whenever Hammer kicked off their gothic horror movies, it was based on the popularity of the re-release of the Universal movies in the 50s.
Yeah.
When the drive-ins were really, going off at that point all over the country. They had that resurgence then.
On IMDb, it's listed as a horror/mystery/romance. It's not often we get romance tagged into any of our
Not at
movies that
all.
we watch here.
No,
but
that's
there it
not
is.
That's not something we delve into.
No.
Yet another big fixture of that classic era, whether it was horror movies
Yeah,
or whatever it was.
you were gonna have
melodrama was like a huge thing. That
You were going to have a love story attached to it. But I think they do a pretty good job of balancing all that in this one. Like, it's not...
Yeah.
On IMDb, it has a rating of 7.3 out of 10 stars. So that's basically like the, not necessarily a critics aggregate, but like fan vote. That's out of over 24,000 ratings, 7.3 out of 10. To that, though, over on Rotten Tomatoes, really good score. On its tomato meter, it's certified fresh at 90%, and that's after 40 critic reviews. And the audience score, which has over 10,000 ratings, that's 80%. So, by and large here, you get the point. Like, it's pretty well loved. I guess I'll read the IMDb synopsis. Larry Talbot returns to his father's castle in Wales and meets a beautiful woman. One fateful night, Talbot escorts her to a local carnival where they meet a mysterious gypsy fortune teller. Honestly, that's the first time just reading that synopsis that I realized that this was in Wales. Like, did I miss that? I don't remember them saying, like,
no.
Hello, Father, I'm back here in Wales. Like, they didn't come right out and say that. So I knew it was England, but I didn't know exactly where.
Yeah.
So this movie was directed by George Wagner. Did you guys, any of you guys get anything on him?
The only thing I got is that he actually wrote this as well.
Yeah, he was on IMDb. He's best known for South of Tahiti, Wolf Call, Guilty Trails, and Man-Made Monster, which I don't think other than in passing, I don't think I've really watched any of those. or heard of them.
I think he should be more well known for Wolfman than any of those.
Yeah, definitely the Wolfman, and I think that, like you mentioned, Man-Made Monster, and I think there was one called Horror Island. There's not that might be that I can think of right now the only horror movies he actually directed. Well, he did something called Jack the Ripper in 1958. That was like a Boris Karloff sort of a, I don't want to say Tales from the Crypt, but kind of a horror anthology where Boris Karloff kind of hosted the stories, and one of them, Jack the Ripper, obviously.
Yeah, on IMDb, he has 60 directing credits and 77 writing credits.
Good Lord.
That's a lot for a writer.
Yeah.
I mean, like, when Donnie, you've been doing the research on these, like, a lot of these guys
That's a lot.
don't have that many writing credits, but I like this one. One of his, the last thing that he did here as a director, he directed 10 episodes of Batman.
Yeah.
in the 1966, 1967
That's cool.
series. Yeah, it
cool.
looks like that's pretty much how he wrapped it up.
And then he died.
Yeah, well, he died sometime after that. He died December of 1984 at the age of 90.
Damn.
So, yeah, maybe he, I'm not sure exactly what he went on to do after that. I mean, because he lived quite some time after that. Yeah, like as far as Hollywood's concerned, his directing and writing credits, dried up after that. He must have just, all right, I've got enough money. I'm bowing out.
Just
and
existed.
And live the rest of his days in Hollywood.
I'm starting to feel like we should change the name of the podcast. All right, I'm done. Because most of these movies that we're doing now, a lot of people are doing this and then saying, all right, I'm done.
Well, a lot of that might have to do with the fact that, like, probably up until like the last 20 or 30 years, horror movies get no respect. Like, as far as in the business, they're seen as trash cinema.
Yeah.
Especially back then.
Definitely. Yeah.
Like, you're kind of lowbrow, you're slumming it doing a horror movie. So that's probably why a lot of these people just drop and blow away. It was written by Kurt Siodmak.
Yeah.
Or at least the original screenplay.
Yeah. He was from Germany, and he came over in, I forget exactly what year it was, but basically when Hitler came into power. He was Jewish. He moved, I believe, to the UK first, then to America, and he knew somebody who worked at Universal Studios, and they got him the job at Universal, and he became, writer. And I'm not sure about his direct. I haven't looked into to see if he actually directed anything, but I know he wrote some other stuff for Universal.
Once again, well, actually he did. He's got 9 directing credits on IMDb. People on Sunday, Bride of the Gorilla, The Magnetic Monster, Kuruku, Beast of the Amazon, Tales of Frankenstein. These are all throughout the 50s and into the 60s. His last directing credit was 1966 with Ski Fever. But he's got 81 writing credits. I guess best known as far as on IMDb for those, The Invisible Man Returns, Invisible Agent, I Walked with a Zombie, and Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, which that's the sequel to this. So there you go. He passed away September of 2000 at the age of 98.
Damn.
He's one of the lucky few, I guess, who got out of that situation.
And actually, while we're talking about that, mentioning that right now, the Wolfman, he has said himself as in an interview, and I forget what year the interview was, but he has said that it's sort of the Wolfman is him, essentially, and his things he went through in that ordeal of moving from Germany to UK and just being the outsider when he got here in the US, and that's just kind of he wrote himself into the character of the Wolfman.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
The thing that I found was just talking about like the fact that like he lived in Germany before the Nazis came to power, so it's kind of like Larry coming into the town that he used to live in, and he's got the the position that he wants, and everything should be calmed down, and then essentially like the Germans move in and take over. He gets bitten by the werewolf, and now everything's in chaos, as far as Germany and in the movie.
Yeah. It's funny how sometimes when you find out like a writer's story, a director's story, or whatever, how like you feel like it's a fairly innocuous story, monster movie, but there's really some kind of deep meaning behind it like that.
And like the whole James Whale thing too, and Frankenstein and all that. I mean, there's that movie out of Gods and Monsters, I think it was.
Oh yeah,
with Ian McKellen.
Good call.
All right, so with the cast, now I'll go like in the order of the credits. So like I guess even though Lon Chaney Jr. played the Wolfman, Larry Talbot, and he's basically the main character of the movie, he's actually listed last as far as But I think it's because a lot of these were pretty big names at the time. So it stars Claude Rains as Sir John Talbot, and he's Larry Talbot's dad in the movie. He would be best known from Casablanca, The Invisible Man. So he actually was the Invisible Man.
Yeah, he was the Invisible Man. That was his debut.
Well, you wouldn't know
film.
it.
Yeah, that's true.
He was invisible.
Can't see me now.
Yeah.
Played by John Cena now.
Yeah. He was in Notorious.
That right there, I was going to mention while we're talking about Claude Rains. When I think about Claude Rains, you would think the first movie, being a horror fan and Universal fan, that the first movie that popped in my head that I like a lot would be The Invisible Man. But really, it's that Notorious movie from Alfred Hitchcock. I think he's an amazing performance from him in that movie. Great film noir.
And he was in The Adventures of Robin Hood, the one from, I think that had Errol Flynn in it, from 1938. Yeah, he's got 78 acting credits that date all the way back to 1920. So this would probably be silent film, right? So
1920, definitely.
Yeah. But he actually didn't do anything. Like, he did one thing in 1920 called Build Thy House. And then he didn't do anything else until The Invisible Man in 1933. So I'm assuming it must probably, like a lot of those guys back then especially, they were like stage actors and stuff like that, right?
True,
so,
yeah. And that Build Thy House, that was his first thing, right? But that was a short silent film, I think, from whatever, 1920 you said, right? And then after that it was The Invisible Man was his next.
Yeah, 1920 and then 1933, so all the way to The Invisible Man. He passed away at the age of 77 in May of 1967.
Good Lord.
His last thing was an appearance on Bob Hope Presents the Chrysler. Good Lord. Bob Hope Presents the Chrysler Theater. He was on 2 episodes of that in 1963 and then one in 1965, and I guess that was his last appearance before passing away at the age of 77. It stars Warren William as Dr. Lloyd, which is funny they kind of have that guy second on the credits, but he wasn't really like
that much.
Yeah, he wasn't
that big of a.
But I'm assuming maybe like he was a bigger star at the time or something, so maybe they listed him a little higher. He is on IMDb best known for Employee's Entrance, Beauty and the Boss, The Case of the Howling Dog, and of course The Wolfman. 66 acting credits on IMDb. They go all the way back to the year 1922. Now, he's another one, like he did the town that the town that forgot God, Plunder in 1923, and then wasn't in anything until a short film in 1931 called How I Play Golf by Bobby Jones. Number 7,
by
The
Dorf.
Spoon. Yeah, it sounds like basically like this must have been some kind of like short or something they played before movies back then, in the newsreel days and all that.
Let's all go to the lobby.
No, don't do that. That might get struck down by.
He doesn't have a good pitch.
Yeah. But Warren Williams passed away in September of 1948. So only about, 7 years after this movie. He died at the age of 53 in Hollywood, so I'm not sure exactly what happened there. But next up, we got Ralph Bellamy as Colonel Montford. Just without even really looking at it hard, I remember him from Trading Places.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the old, I can't think of the guy's name, but he's one of the old guys.
Yeah, he's one of the, good call.
But on IMDb, he's best known for an old Cary Grant movie called His Girl Friday. Oh, there it is, Trading Places. The Awful Truth in 1937. And then Rosemary's Baby, another horror classic.
Yes. He played the doctor in there, right?
Yeah, Dr. Saperstein.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure that's another movie we'll get to sooner or later here.
Has everybody here seen that one, Rosemary's Baby, yet?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Oh,
God, I don't think so.
Surprise.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
It'll basically be fresh.
I want to say maybe mid to late 90s. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to move.
It seems like I watched that within the last 5 years or so. It's been a minute, but it's been recent. On IMDb though, this guy has 194 acting credits, and his last one was Pretty Woman in 1990. But of all of his credits, they date all the way back to 1931. So right around the time that the Universal monster movies were kind of starting up, really.
Was he creeping death in Pretty Woman?
Yeah. Oh, no, it doesn't say creeping death, but he was pretty close to it. No, he played James Morse in Pretty Woman, but he passed away just a year after that, basically. He died November of 1991 at the age of 87. But a well-known face, and he had a long career, and obviously 194 credits. You're not often going to see that, when we're running down the list of actors and actresses like we usually do. Patrick Knowles as Frank Andrews. This was the guy that was the fiance of Gwen in the movie. Yeah, that's him. He is best known for, once again, The Adventures of Robin Hood. There it is again, the old 1938. What did I say a minute ago?
He looks like he would have started.
Yeah. A movie called Ivy. He was in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, which he played, according to this, a completely different role in that movie than he did in this one. He was Dr. Frank Mannering in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. So, 2 years earlier, he's Frank Andrews here in this movie, so that's kind of weird, but there you go. He's got 126 acting credits on IMDb that, date all the way back to 1932 with Men of Tomorrow. His last acting credit was in 1973, a movie called Arnold, and right before that, or same year, Terror in the Wax Museum. Those were his last two credits, and he died sometime after that, actually. He died December 1995 at the age of 84. Of course, Bela Lugosi as Bella. A real deep part here, and he's really, honestly, but I mean, he's got a couple scenes, but he's barely in it. Right?
He's got a key scene.
Yeah,
he definitely has a key scene we'll get to.
But really overall, he's barely in it. Of course, if you're listening to this, you know who the hell Bela Lugosi is, but he's Dracula from the original from 1931. IMDb is also known for Island of Lost Souls, Glenn or Glinda, and The Black Cat. He has 114 acting credits. Now, he's definitely another silent movie guy. Right? Yeah. His first credit on here, Masked Ball from 1917, and then Leone Leo from 1917. And his last acting credit was Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about before the show.
Yeah.
And that deserves mention in the fact that, unfortunately, if anybody's seen the Johnny Depp movie about the director of Plan 9 from Outer Space, it's called Ed Wood.
Yeah.
And you know the story of Lugosi and how he was treated and everything, and then Ed Wood wanted to give him a chance in this movie, get him back in the show business and whatnot. And then, unfortunately, he died during the making of the movie, and they had to get... I don't know who the other actor was, but they got somebody else to play his role in Plan 9, where he's just running around with a cape over his face, just to hide the fact that it's not Bela Lugosi anymore.
Isn't that also usually considered one of the worst movies ever made? Like, when you see, the list of worst movies, it's Plan 9.
I don't know if y'all have seen that. The flying saucers are, actual looking... They look like pie plates on a wire.
Oh, yeah, and you can see the damn wire and everything. Yeah, I've seen that.
And nobody at home can see me doing this, but I'm doing the
the hand motion of a plate floating in the air. But yeah, Bela Lugosi actually died, like he said, in Plan 9 from Outer Space came out in 1957. He died in August of 1956 at the age of 73. So he had already had a good long run even by then, you know, as far as in the business and everything. But a lot of it came before, you know, television and talkies, you know.
Talkies. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what they were called back then.
Yeah. Yes. You know, when they made that transition from silent film to, like, holy shit, I can hear audio coming from the screen.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Talkies.
But yeah, Bela Lugosi, you know, another horror icon. That I'm sure we'll get around to a handful of his movies here on the Spook Show at one point or another.
Is this the first one we've done that's had Bela Lugosi in it? I guess
no.
No? Oh, okay. There's
Yeah.
a teaser for
Yeah. We have as Maleva. She's like the, well, she's not like a gypsy queen, but like the leader of the gypsies or something, right? In the movie, was played by Maria Ospinskaya.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Maria Ospinskaya.
I'm glad you were.
And she looks like it too. She is best known for this, of course, and she was in the movie Conquest, Dodsworth.
The Lucio Fulci film? No.
And she
Different Conquest.
And she plays the same part in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. So
she shows up again.
Go find the logic in that. The other guy was in the same movie, but he completely different role.
Character. Yeah.
But we bring her back, and she's got the same role. She only has 25 acting credits on IMDb, so we just talked about 2 of them right there with this one.
I mean, honestly, if you watch the film, like you look at her, she's already old by this time.
Yeah, her first. Oh God, I don't even know why I'm going to try to read this, but her first acting credit on IMDb is from 1915, called Zvrchak Napichi. I think I turned into a Klingon there for a second, but
which translates to what, Josh?
Nerd.
Nerd. Yeah, there we go. Her last acting credit was A Kiss in the Dark, much easier to pronounce, in 1949, and she passed away that same year, December of 1949, at the age of 73.
Wow.
Yeah, she was Russian. She was from Tula in the Russian Empire, is what it says on there. So yeah, she was born in 1876. So, she died at age 73, but that's a hard 73 years there, I can tell you that.
More on that later.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that she played the mom to Bella.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and they kind of threw that in a little bit later on, right? Like, I don't know if they established that until after Bella died,
they had
right?
already... No,
maybe they had.
No, it had
she
already...
just said son, my son,
Yeah.
Something
Actually,
like.
you know what? You may be right. But yeah... technically, just by age comparison, they were only 6 years apart. Which back in the day,
1800s.
Things were different.
Yeah, yeah. This was 1941.
1941. I mean, shit.
That's our next shirt. Well,
well, I mean,
look at 1941.
Fucking 1941, things were different.
The character of Gwen Conliffe was played by Evelyn Ankers. Now, this is the love interest of Larry Talbot in the film. She is best known for this and The Ghost of Frankenstein, The Texan Meets Calamity Jane, and a movie called Queen of Burlesque. That sounds like something we should get around to, huh? She's got 62 credits on IMDb. That date back to 1936. She was in a movie called, and it was an uncredited role. Actually, her first handful of roles were uncredited, but it was a movie called Forbidden Music. Yeah, she was in Son of Dracula. I mean, there's a handful of things that she was in that might be of interest to our fans, but she died in August of 1985 at the age of 67 in Maui, so she went out on top.
Yeah. Way to be.
Yeah, if you're going to go out anywhere, that's one of the places you want to go out.
Oh, it's beautiful out there.
Yeah. I'd love to go out there one of these days.
You should.
We'll make it a big spook show trip. We're going to Hawaii. That's right, gang.
I got to go there one time
the spook
in the
show.
Navy.
So get on Patreon.
I only enjoyed it slightly.
Yeah. Patreon.com/AA Spook Show.
Send the Spook Show boys to Hawaii.
Yeah. Help us get to Hawaii. There's a couple other here that are listed before them, but really, like, I don't think they're, you need to go any deeper than the last one here in the credits is Lon Chaney Jr. as Lawrence Talbot / the Wolfman. He was another one of those guys that kind of like got typecast and stuff from this, right? Like, couldn't really shake it. I mean, he did a ton of other things, but
actually, this was the first of actually, well, let's see. He did. This was the first one, and then any of Universal's other Wolfman movies, he was in it.
Yeah, even though if it didn't make sense.
Yeah, he was in it.
Story-wise, if it didn't make sense, it was him.
Yeah,
yeah, he was probably one of the original monsters that reprised his role that many times over and over again. Because then Frankenstein was played by somebody different than Karloff, and Dracula was of course played by a few different people in the Universal movies near the end.
On IMDb, is best known for the movie High Noon, which that's a great Gary Cooper Western. That's one of my favorite Western movies, High Noon.
That's great.
That's just a great movie. Of course, this. And once again, like we said, he reprised the role in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. And even the Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. Like, he reprised the role there. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, in House of Dracula, right? I think we mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
He reprised the role in that one, too. So at least 4 times, during the Universal run, he appeared as the Wolfman. He, on IMDb, has 197 acting credits. I think that's the record as far as these people that we've been talking about today.
It's gotta be.
Maybe not overall, but for today, the ones we've talked about, like 197 credits, man, that is crazy.
Yeah.
And they date back to 1922. Once again, probably a silent film, uncredited in a movie called The Trap.
Oh.
And then it wasn't until 1931 he was in The Galloping Ghost. Another
I mean, honestly,
movie.
if you think about it, and like from 1922 to 1941 to have, he's basically doing 10 movies a year. Basically, nobody today is doing that. Now, granted, their production value was a little different back then, and
they would film these things in weeks and spit them out like a couple months later.
Like this one particularly, the Wolfman was it was shot October 27th through October 27th through November 25th. So it's right around, about a month. Right around
1941.
Well, I don't know if it was of 1941.
Yeah, I mean, because this came out like December.
Yeah,
because that's a quick turnaround.
Yeah,
even
that's
back then,
super quick turnaround.
That'd be less than a month to get it out. So it's probably 1940.
Yeah, it's probably 1940 is when it was shot. But still, right around that, they took a month to make this, and honestly, it shows. And when I say that it shows, like we've previously talked about, Jesse James versus Frankenstein's Daughter, which was shot in like 7 days.
No, yeah, I think it was 8 days, and that's 2 movies at the same time.
And it fucking looks like it, but no, like even if you compare the two, and I know they're like 25 years apart, but this just has, as far as the production value, it just looks like they handled this one with care.
Yeah, well, you had better better talent behind the scenes.
That's true.
I can guarantee you that.
And not only that, you had better funding.
Yeah, well, you got a major studio versus
absolutely
2 guys making out of the back of their car or whatever the hell for Jesse James.
Say they're making out?
No, making it out. No. Lon Chaney,
it's Pride Month.
Lon Chaney Jr., his last acting role was in 1971 of his 197 credits in Dracula versus Frankenstein. And his role was Groton. So I don't even know. I'd have to go back. I don't remember watching that one, but
Dracula
I do remember
versus Frankenstein. Yeah, I know that's not a Universal one. That's one of the other.
Yeah.
One of the.
That's not Hammer, is it, or is that just something?
No, there's been at least three different Dracula versus Frankenstein, and one of them I know is directed by Al Adamson. I don't know if that's that one or not, but that one's probably one of the most low budget of the three.
Yeah, actually it was Al Adamson.
Yeah.
Yep, Dracula versus Frankenstein. Actually, the same year, I should add, he came out with a movie called The Female Bunch. So that one and Dracula versus Frankenstein were his last 2 credits. But I recently watched, I don't know, this is within the last year, one of his last credits, a movie called Hillbillies in a Haunted House.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. We need to watch that.
It is pretty fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's fun, but like the crazy part about that movie is who's in it. Because not only does it have Lon Chaney Jr. in it, but it's got Basil Rathbone, John Carradine. I mean, these are like Hollywood icons.
John Carradine, he's one I'd mentioned before who's actually played Dracula in a Universal movie. I think it might have been The House of Dracula or House of Frankenstein or both of those maybe, but he's played Dracula in the Universal films as well.
And of course, it has Merle Haggard in it too. So there's that.
Yes,
So,
that is awesome.
Yeah, we need to get to that one by the end of this year. We're gonna watch Hillbillies in a Haunted House. God Almighty! That's
We could
all I
do, we
can
could
say
do like
about
a double feature with Monsters Crash the Pajama Party. You know,
That'd be fun.
Yeah, why not? Maybe it'll soften the blow a little bit if we watch something else with it.
Or a Ghost of Dragstrip Hollow. That's another good one. Or another bad one.
I guess that's probably pretty much all I had as far as like the behind the scenes, cast and crew and all that stuff that we normally go through. Does any of you guys have anything you wanted to point out before we get into the movie? So
just one thing specifically, at least right now. This movie actually premiered 2 days after the attack on Pearl Harbor.
wow. Yeah, you're right. December 12th, 1941.
Yeah.
That was, December 10th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something I read said that they had even considered pulling the movie because they thought people probably wouldn't want to go see a horror movie after what had just happened.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of like, what we lived through when 9/11 happened. I'm sure there was a lot of things like TV shows and movies and stuff that kind of got postponed, pushed off, canceled, or whatever because kind of not appropriate, bad timing, Yeah, wow, I didn't really put that together, but you're right, December 12th, 1941. And I'm sure that had to have affected the box office, not that we can find those things out. They don't, you don't really, I mean, unless it was one of those huge movies back then, like Gone with the Wind or something like that, it's almost impossible to find any box office numbers.
Yeah.
Apparently the first draft of this lacked werewolf scenes.
That makes sense.
That's a werewolf movie?
Yeah.
No werewolf?
And just remember, it's called The Wolf Man, so...
Yeah, and actually something else I was reading elsewhere is that nowhere in the movie is the character referred to as the Wolfman.
No?
It's only in title.
It's only like as a werewolf, and they really
Yeah.
push the fact that like, oh, this is all in your fucking head,
Yeah.
right? Like, this isn't really happening.
Mental health.
Yeah.
Well, now that you mentioned the
the
title,
more you know.
SpongeBob, that was
Yeah.
imagination.
Yeah.
But when you mentioned the title, The Wolfman, it was actually called something else before that. I believe it was Destiny. What was the working title of it?
Really?
More than just a working title. I think
Wow.
that was the title that was going to be up until the point where, shortly before it premiered, they changed it to The Wolfman.
I did
which,
not know that.
Which
Destiny.
You know what though?
Let
Like,
me make sure you go ahead.
No escaping
they
it from
typically
me.
do that. They typically do this whenever, like, let's say another Mission Impossible movie comes out. They typically name it a cheap shit fucking title.
Well, yeah, they have a working title.
Like a working title.
Yeah.
And that's typically what they do. They did that with Spider-Man when I was in Chicago.
Well, Star Wars was like Blue Harvest.
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
when they don't want to know when it's a big movie that they don't want people to know.
They don't
that
really
they're
want to
shooting
know.
necessarily.
Yeah, people snooping
Yeah.
in on the production,
Yeah.
so they call it something else. So
Yeah.
you're not.
Little side note, I know this has nothing to do with this movie, but Breaking Bad. I think it was the first 2 seasons of that. You know what it went by? Breaking Bad.
Really?
You don't say.
And that's breaking news.
No, there were, so there would be signs all around Albuquerque for the cast, like Breaking Bad this way, and nobody cared.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a thing really,
Exactly.
or nobody gave
Yeah.
a shit. It was just that dude from Malcolm in the Middle, going to be in a, if you knew anything about it at all. But yeah, I usually think it's like you said, for a bigger production, like Star Wars was called Blue Harvest, or one of them was. I know that.
Yeah.
That was a thing, and
Yeah.
that's just because they want to kind of throw them off the scent.
And that's why they called the Family Guy episode Blue Harvest.
Yeah, exactly.
Blue Harvest. Yeah, that's a good one, man.
Yeah.
But apparently they used that Destiny name for a handful of movies.
Yeah, I mean there was one that was actually at least one that was actually called Destiny, Fritz Lang movie.
Like one of the ones that I saw in here that actually said that it used it up until before it came out was Son of Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
That's an odd. Destiny's just an odd title for this.
Yeah, and I couldn't find. I don't have any background information on why it was called Destiny, or unless like you said, they
Story-wise, the only thing that would make sense to me would be because like this guy had left and come back, and like maybe there was a history of this in his family, but they were kind of like, sweeping it under the rug. Maybe.
Yeah.
Sounds like Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
Well,
that's where they got
Scott,
that's where they got the concept.
Well, I think pretty much what that's going by though is just all of these movies. It sounds like maybe had like the preliminary name of Destiny until they figured out what they were going to call it.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
So here's the Wizard of Oz, hypothetically. Let's call it Destiny for now.
Yeah, until we get a proper name.
Right. I think I'd read something else though. You know what? One thing that's missing out of this movie that was probably in every other werewolf movie.
The moon.
The moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Did they
good
even
point.
mention anything?
No,
Did they even
because
mention?
the poem doesn't mention the
No,
moon.
the moon.
Yeah.
It just
And
mentions
actually,
where the moon's burning
this
bright,
being
but
the
doesn't mention
benchmark-
full,
Yeah, but
right?
it's talking about the wolfsbane bloom.
Yeah, the wolfsbane blooming. Yeah.
Yeah, this being the benchmark, like the moon was never covered. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens in the history of werewolf movies as far as when the moon came out.
Yeah, I didn't really connect that until you said that. I'm like, wait a
That's a
minute,
good
you never
point.
did see the moon. Yeah, it is a good point. To that, Smoke, did you want to like kind of toss to some of the history maybe? We can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'll just mention here what a lot of people think that the Wolfman is like pretty much the first werewolf movie. And when anybody thinks of werewolf movies, what do you think? Like going as far back as you can think, most people can't think of anything beyond it. But there are a handful at least of werewolf movies made before it. One was called The Werewolf in 1913, short silent film. The White Wolf, 1914, again short silent film. And Le Loup Garou, which was a French film in 1923, again a short silent film. After that, in 1925, you have Wolf Blood, A Tale of the Forest. And so that covers the silent era. Just that right there is 4 movies from the silent era. The reason why a lot of people don't, really think about those, or they don't get all that much mention, is because 3 of them are lost of those 4 films. The only one that actually survives is the Wolf Blood, A Tale of the Forest. Then you come to the talkies,
Yeah.
And then the only one that prove me wrong out there, Spook Show fans, if you're listening, you know any other ones besides this one. But The Werewolf of London, which was a Universal film, 1935, came out before the Wolfman. So, and then you have the Wolfman in 1941. But that's a little, handful of them right there.
That the last one you said, The Werewolf of London, was that what it was called?
Yep.
That one was actually on like the little DVD set I have, like the Werewolf collection.
Yep.
That Universal, where they release all the monster movies or whatever. They had one for the Invisible Man and
Werewolf of
Wolfman,
London,
Dracula, Frankenstein, all that.
She-Wolf
Yeah,
of
but
London, right?
Yeah, Werewolf of London and She-Wolf of London were on there. So,
Yep.
and those aren't directly tied into these at all.
No,
but,
not at
they
all.
threw them on.
But a lot of people don't remember those or think about those as much. And if they do, then the Werewolf of London would be pretty much the only one that most people would think of, if they can think of it being from 1935 that came out before the Wolfman.
It's time to refresh. For your convenience, we have an attractive refreshment stand with a parade of items to tempt your taste. Hot buttered popcorn, golden good and fresh from the popper. Your favorite candies, wholesome and rich and full of flavor. Ice cream and other good things to eat. Plus, ice-cold Coca-Cola. So bright, so bracing, with a taste and tingle all its own.
For you, the listeners of the All-American Spook Show podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. Like I think pretty much all of us here have probably done. You use that audibletrial.com/AA-spookshow. You sign up, you get a free 30-day trial, you get a credit. You take that credit, it gives you a free audiobook. If you say, I can't afford this, don't want this, this isn't for me, whatever, you cancel it, you get to keep that one book. So, like I've said before, helps you out by giving you a free audiobook, helps us out here on the Spook Show, helps the cause, helps us get to Hawaii, like we said earlier. So I just went on Audible and just typed in werewolf just to see what would come up. And apparently there's a lot of like semi-pornographic books. I guess like romance novels and shit, right? Just based on werewolves.
Uncaging the animal.
I'll just name off a few here. The Beast Complete Series, a werewolf horror, books 1 through 3. By Alistair Davidson, and that one's just slightly over 4 hours long, 4 hours and 12 minutes. This is for you, Donnie. Seduced by the Alpha Wolf, a paranormal werewolf romance, the complete box set. By Casey Klein, and that one is a little over 5.5 hours long. And I'll just list off one more here. Feral, a novel of werewolf horror by Matt Serafini, book 1. And that one is a little over 12 hours long, so a little longer than the others. But, yeah, you just go in and type in werewolves or werewolf. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of, like, the other guys can see this picture, but you can't. This was called "Sold to the Werewolf."
Oh my god!
And the picture on this book is it's classic. So I'm.
It's not
romance novel. Like I said, almost semi-pornographic.
Is that Fabio as a werewolf? No,
yeah. It could be. I mean, like that's pretty much how that dude made his hay, right? It's just on these damn novels. But yeah, anyways, there's tons of things on Audible. So if any of that floats your boat, you can roll on over to audibletrial.com/spookshow. Again, that's audibletrial.com/spookshow for your free audiobook. All right, so with the usual paid advertising out of the way, we'll go ahead and get into the movie itself. Now, like we said, the movie was only like an hour 9, hour 10, pretty brief. So I mean, we can kind of hit the highlights, and since we've spent so much time talking about the background information, it also does like that old school like TV kind of feel too, right at the beginning, where like they're introducing the cast, and it's each guy just kind of pointing at the camera,
with his name at the bottom.
like Claude Rains, and then he's just like, yeah, that's me, Lon Chaney Jr. All right, thumbs up, But that kind of starts it off, and then somebody literally takes like an encyclopedia off the shelf and like looks up the entry on how do you say it, lycanthropy?
Yeah, lycanthropy.
Lycanthropy. There you go. That sounds better than what I said. But he's literally like opens up the book and you see it there on the page, and then it stays frozen there for 5 full minutes so you can read the entire entry into the encyclopedia.
Back then, everybody was kind of slow to read.
Yeah.
So,
Well, as a slow reader, I sat there and paused it because I was like, "There's no way this is staying up here."
Yeah.
And then you unpaused it and it was up there another minute. Yeah.
I actually did the same thing because I was like, I want to read this whole thing for just getting into the minutia of the movie. So I paused it, read it, and then like you said, like you hit play, and then it still sat there for 5 minutes. I'm like, shit, I didn't need to do that. So, anyways, you're introduced to Larry Talbot, who's now is returning home because his brother died, which they only kind of skirt past this, right? Like at the beginning of it, like, well, he's back because his brother. I guess his brother was the one that stuck around to help his dad out with the company. Did they ever say how they got their money and what they do? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
No,
that
I don't remember that.
Either way,
fortune.
Yeah, they're rich, and his brother died, so now he's come back from America. Apparently, he's been abroad for like 15, 20 years, and now he's back to
now
help
he's
out
being the man. Oh no,
yeah,
abroad. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, a wolf man.
Oh, okay.
And this is also where you're introduced with his dad, played by Claude Rains. That's Sir John Talbot. Then randomly, like Larry goes over, like, well, I've done some things with. Damn it, I'm losing. He fixes a telescope, but he explained it like
refractor.
Yeah. I've done some refractor work over in America. Like really.
At the old refractor factory.
Yeah.
I'll say that a couple times fast.
But for some reason, and I guess it's for only a reason, just so he can be a creep, he builds or helps build a telescope up in the observatory in the attic of their house, and he instantly just like, I'm looking around the town, the little village that's down below, and there's some people riding a bike, walking around, doing their dailies, and then he sees a beautiful woman up in the window, and then it's like the old left, like, I'm gonna swing past that, whoop, like, right back on her. And then he instantly, like, basically, like, gets his hat on and his coat or whatever and goes down to the town and instantly starts creeping on her.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes back to what did people do, like, not too long after they made a camera that shoots moving video?
Yeah, well. So he goes down, like, apparently she's got, like, they had, like, her and her dad or whatever, they have, like, an antique shop or something, right? I think it was. And he goes in and he, introduces himself or whatever, but he's like, I'm a psychic, and I really like those moon earrings on you or whatever the hell, and somehow she's cool with this, the whole premise of him creeping on her, like, how'd you know about
first
that?
She's like, hey, yeah, how'd you know about my earrings? Oh, I was staring at you through a telescope. But he didn't say,
yeah, but she just kind of like, oh, you're silly, like. She just basically just kind of waves it off, but yeah, it's a creep move. But he buys like this werewolf cane, and like the top of the cane is like made out of silver, right? I think they make it a point to like keep pointing this out. And it's shaped like a werewolf, and it has a pentagram on it. Now, what's the story with the pentagram? Like, is that
the story from the pentagram and the story from silver is this movie? It comes from this movie. A lot of people think a lot of that folklore is from the actual European folklore on the werewolf, but no, the pentagram and the silver bullet come from, well, not just silver bullet, but silver in general. Killing a werewolf comes from this movie.
Yeah, because there's that scene towards the end where he's like, well, a silver.
That's right.
Silver kills a werewolf, and then he just kind of smirks at him like,
hard.
But actually, those guys were, they were I don't know, shooting target practice, and he says, only a silver bullet will kill a werewolf. Yeah, that's what he says. But where does that originate? I don't know.
Well, like you said, I guess they pretty much just made it up.
Yeah,
right?
From this movie. I'm pretty sure it's. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've read that it's from this movie.
I just thought that it was funny how he looked at him and smiled like he knew the silver bullet. Like,
yeah.
I knew that, you didn't. Fuck all of you.
And then doesn't he mention? He mentioned a few other silver artifacts that could kill him too. I forget, silver dagger or silver anything made from silver.
Yeah, that's what the gypsy mentions.
Yeah.
And you kind of, I don't know if they ever come right out with it, but like you kind of get the sense throughout the movie, like that's the whole silver thing is built up to like, all right, the cane's got the silver head.
Yeah.
And they just beat the shit out of people with this cane, because it happens at least a couple times, right?
By the way, the head of that cane is actually made out of rubber.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
And it's a black and white movie, so you can even easier get away with it, But then Larry takes Gwen and her friend Jenny. Like, so he's going to take Gwen out to this carnival. Like, there's like the gypsies are in town with their carnival, right? He's going to take her, but then like Jenny tags along, the old third wheel, and.
Talk about stink face when this girl brought this other girl along. Jesus.
Yeah.
He's like,
shit, here we go. And it takes them both by the arm, and then they go to the carnival.
How do you not take that personally?
No, they were all happy to like, okay. But they're going to a fortune teller, so they basically, as soon as they get there, they find a fortune teller, and they leave Jenny like, all right, have fun. Let's go for a walk out in the woods. Larry and Gwen go out to the woods, and this is where... he left them with he left her with Bella, so this is really like the big scene of Bella Lugosi.
Yeah.
Then as Bella is doing her looking at her palm for the fortune teller, looking God, I'm mixing up my words. What's the looking at her fortune in her hand or whatever? You see the pentagram raise up. Now apparently this was like the werewolf sees his next victim.
Yeah.
Like by looking at their hand, and then this pentagram appears.
The pentagram.
Yeah. So like he's like, "Whoo," and just kind of gets up and leaves. She runs. I guess she's freaked out by the situation, right? I think Jenny takes off running into the woods.
Yeah, because he essentially kicks her out.
Yeah, like just
basically
leave for your protection or whatever the hell. I don't remember exactly the way it was phrased, but Jenny
Come back
takes
tomorrow. Go.
Yeah, get the hell out. Jenny takes off and runs to the woods. Yeah, and then like instantly, Larry's out there with Gwen, and he hears a scream. So he goes and runs and finds Jenny being attacked by a wolf. Now, in this, like, Bella ain't a wolf man. He's just straight up
straight up a wolf.
Like, it's a wolf. Here's a wolf attacking this girl.
And so, that direct right there comes from some of the European folklore. Most of that European folklore from the earlier days, medieval
literally
period.
become a wolf, right?
Yeah, a little later on in the medieval era, or a little bit beyond the medieval era, they kind of become like that anthropomorphic, humanized type form of werewolf. But before that, it was mainly just this person transforms through some supernatural method or other into an actual wolf.
But he comes up on this, sees the wolf attacking Jenny, and then takes the cane and just starts beating the shit out of the wolf, right?
Yeah.
And kills the wolf.
And that was actually Lon Chaney's German Shepherd that was playing the wolf in that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that as well.
He kind of like rolls around on the ground with it and then just takes the cane and just starts beating the hell out of it. And he kills it. Then Maleva, I guess that's how you say her name, Maleva, the gypsy lady.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go with
the gypsy lady.
Yeah, the gypsy lady. Maleva comes along and helps them after this, and then helps them home or whatever, because now Larry's injured. Like he says he's been bitten on the chest. Then they go out, and that's where they find Jenny's body after this, and not too far away they find another body, and it's the body of Bella. So clearly they go straight to Larry and question him about this, like, hey, what the hell? Like, this whole incident last night, now we go back over there and we find her dead, and now this dude's dead, and like, but you said it was a wolf, so like, but they kind of explain it off pretty easily, like, it's hysteria, right? And then back at the Gypsy Carnival, Maleva warns Larry of becoming the wolf. So, like, this is the speech, you heard it in the open. He who becomes, or he who is bitten by a wolf, becomes a wolf himself. This is where you get that whole little line there.
Once again, this movie is the first incidence of that, of a werewolf bite, or, transferring it over to where the person gets bitten becomes a werewolf. That bit of werewolf folklore comes from this movie.
Maleva gives Larry like this necklace. It's like a charm or something on it, right? It's like this will protect. Oh, was it a pentagram necklace? I don't remember exactly what was on it, but basically like this will protect you or something. Then he turns around and he gives it to Gwen. Like, you need this protection.
Now, at this point, her brother, or no, I'm sorry, not her brother, her son was a werewolf.
Yeah, Bella.
Yep.
So why didn't she give all of this stuff to her son?
Yeah. Even
It's like, you know what?
This
Fuck
necklace
you.
that would protect you? No. That's not for you. That's for a stranger. He turns around and gives Gwen the necklace for protection, and then they have the kiss scene. You know, they kiss each other, so there's the big moment. And then I like in the background, like during this, the gypsies are like packing. They're all whispering to each other, like werewolf, werewolf, werewolf. And then they just pack their shit up and get out. Like, I wonder what they're all running for him. Who knows? Then he instantly goes home and pretty much like turns into the werewolf. Now you don't really. This is like the old school transformation scene. You don't see it happen. So it's like it's basically all the feet, right? Like he's sitting there in a chair.
Slow dissolve.
Yeah, like you see, there's hair on his feet, and then slow dissolve, more hair, slow dissolve.
And then his feet, he kind of raise up to make it look like he's kind of on haunches. So
yeah, he's like
just
walking on
lifts
his tiptoes. Then he goes out into the woods and then kills, I think it was a gravedigger, right? I never caught the dude's name, but he instantly goes out and kills a gravedigger. Then he wakes up and he's back in his human form. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but was he wearing completely different clothes the next day? Like, he turns into a werewolf, goes out and kills a dude, comes back, and then he's wearing like this all black, like a black shirt, black pants. I could be wrong, like I said, you know, but...
So you're saying you wouldn't change into your pajamas?
Yeah. When you come back as a feral werewolf man, you're going to change into your best pajamas before...
Yes.
And there's like dirt tracks in the floor and in the window and everything. He's like, and he just happens to look out the window right at the moment that like I can't think of the guy's name, Colonel Talbot, whatever the hell. No, not Talbot, but the guy that's basically investigating it. He sees him down there smoking a pipe. Yeah, and then the guy looks up and he just kind of ducks back, but like he tries to clear the area of like I didn't do this.
Don't notice anything or the footprints all the way up to my room.
Yeah, they just lead up the wall right into my window that's open right now, and I'm standing in it looking at you. So then, like, they're on the hunt now because they, like, something's out here. Like, they just figure it's probably just a wolf. But they go out and they set up this animal trap. So then, like, that day or that night, he turns into the werewolf. So I just thought it was funny because, like, there's a scene where they're setting it up, covered up with leaves. Then he's instantly, all right, I'm a werewolf again. And then he steps right into the damn thing, right? Like, instantly, just like, bam. And then, because he's a werewolf, the pain, he just falls over and, like, faints.
He just goes, ow! No, he doesn't do that.
Ouch! He just faints. And then Maleva comes along in the woods and finds him. And then, like, apparently she's got the power to kind of, like, break the trance, right? Like, she says, like, her little... gypsy spell or whatever, kind of breaks the curse for a minute, like enough to like turn him back into a human. She helps him get the thing off of his foot.
And why didn't she say this to her son again? Sorry.
Because she did not like Bella, apparently. Either that or they were just trying to find an easy way to write him out because he was only there for a day or something. I'm Bela Lugosi. I'm not going to be here.
Story we didn't tell. He actually wanted to play the role of the Wolfman, but he lost the role to Lon Chaney Jr.
Yeah, and actually, Universal wrote the movie specifically for Boris Karloff. But then, Bela Lugosi
wanted it but didn't get it, and they gave it to Chaney, and then Lugosi, well, you'll still be in it. You'll be Bella. The gypsy that bites the. Although, like we said, he does play a key role. He bites.
He does.
He's the one that transfers the werewolf curse to Lawrence Talbot.
Can't imagine he was still pleased with that.
No, that's what I was about to say. Like, I'm sure he was real happy to be a part of this. Just give me my payday. So then Larry goes to see Gwen. And then, like, he holds out her hand and then looks down and sees the pentagram. Yep. I love the pentagram, too. Like, they don't bother drawing this on there. Like,
no.
It seems like they took the harder road by, like,
It's a BOGO.
Yeah, like some light shining down on somebody's hand, and then there's the pentagram, the star or whatever.
And the pentagram is not the classic one you think of. When you think of a pentagram or whatever you think of, it's not even the lines coming together. It's just the outline of a star.
Yeah.
That's all it is. They call it a pentagram. It's actually
but it works. I mean, you get the point.
Right.
I guess it's a cool effect for 1941, but it seems like they could have easily just like painted it on the hand and then like, cut away and then. Oh, it's gone, like.
But they could have gave him a tattoo like the Night Stalker. No.
Yeah. Or like the guy from Home Sweet Home, where it just says on the back of his hand.
The club stamp. Home
you see the pentagram on her hand, and then he's like, I can't be near you. Like, now he knows. I guess he knows by this point enough of the lore that, like, if he sees that shit, she's next.
Yeah.
So he gets out of there, but he does have time to go back home and like change back into a suit. Did you notice, like, he's wearing like a completely different?
Yeah.
And then he tells his dad about Sir John about this, and basically, like, his dad's like,
boy, you're crazy.
It's in your mind, but I'm gonna go ahead and tie you up just in case. Just in case. And then Larry tells him, please take the cane with you, because they're going out. Like, now there's a big hunting party. They're out looking for the wolf.
Yeah.
So he's like, please just take the cane with you. So he does, and he leaves to go out and help the hunting party. So as soon as they go out in the woods, or Sir John, as soon as he's out in the woods on the hunting party, who does he see but Maleva, the gypsy woman? She's out there, and basically, like, I don't even get the gist of it. She's just kind of like, you know what's going on, basically, right? I think it's kind of what happens there. And he's just kind of in denial about it. Somehow, Larry gets loose. I guess he turns into the werewolf, right, and just breaks out, but you don't see this happen.
Yeah.
The last time you saw him, he's tied up to a chair, and then all of a sudden, he's out in the woods, full wolf man. Gwen shows up, joins Maleva as well. I think she kind of says the same thing, like, come with me, I can help you, or some shit. And she says, and just runs away.
That's basically what she said.
Yeah. Runs away. And then, of course, the wolf man shows up, and Sir John just beats him to death.
Or at least he tried to attack Gwen.
Yeah. And then Sir John jumps up with the cane and just beats the living shit out of him. Now, you're kind of left to assume that he killed him, but who knows, right? I mean, I guess it could go either way because there were sequels after this.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that he killed him right there. And then I think she does the old spell to change him back into the, his regular human form again. And that's pretty much the end. Like, I don't think there's really much after that. Like, I think it's just like
with the end.
Yeah, like I think it's like, well, he's back to normal, but he's dead. The end.
Yeah, Gwen has she's like, oh my gosh, and then credits.
Yeah, not even really full on credits. Just like the end, and then I think you see one screen, maybe two. Here's the cast. Bye. All right, so there you go. That's the Wolfman from 1941. So I guess we'll go around the table like we usually do, and we'll give our star rating. So we'll start with you, Donnie. What do you say?
3 1/4, man. This was, man, it really struck a chord with me from the like me and Smoke were actually talking offline a little bit, just about the production value, from that time. Definitely groundbreaking. But yeah, for me, from start to finish, just the pacing, everything from, like just the quality of the film and, nostalgia, taking everything into account from start to finish, it's 3 1/4 for me.
Will, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I'm sitting at the same spot. I mean, I can pretty much repeat the same stuff that Donnie just said. There are a couple of, like, weak plot points, but, what do you do? Like, this is a movie from the 40s. I mean, you can't sit there and really argue too much of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know we usually like to poke fun at the movies or whatever, but, like, that's just to have a good time talking about it.
Yeah.
But this one is, as far as, like, the age of it and everything, it holds up, and it's well done for sure.
Yeah.
Smoke, what's your rating on it?
I'm going with 3 3/4. It's I mean, just again what Donnie and Will said, and can't really add too much more to it than that, other than it's a classic that holds up. It's got the star power of Lon Chaney Jr. He's coming in and he's making the role his, even though he's the only one that played pretty much the Wolfman, like as we mentioned before through all the other movies. And again, like I mentioned, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, it has a special place in my heart as the first one that I saw. And then going back and watching this one after that sometime later, gave me more respect for his role as the Wolfman. And for the fact that this movie pretty much sets up most of the folklore that we know of the werewolf today. Comes from this movie.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what you guys have said, but except I'm going to go with 3.5. I'm not going to go quite as high as you, but, it's right in the middle. So, I mean, I think overall we all agree, and we definitely highly recommend checking this movie out, especially if you're a big fan of the classic Universal monster movies, or maybe you're just listening to this and discovering that that older stuff for the first time. There are some of these movies of that time period that are done better, but not a whole
Yeah.
lot. It's probably a fairly good introductory level Universal
Oh,
monster movie, wouldn't you say? I
Yeah.
mean, like,
Yeah.
if you've never really dipped your toes into that pool, this
Yeah.
is the shallow end. It's pretty easy to go from
Yeah.
here. So I guess that's what we have to say about that. Except we have our usual segments that we need to go through here, and I've actually gone through and we've made some little audio stingers for these things now. So we're going to kind of introduce it that way. So I guess we'll Donnie, we're going to go with you for the first segment here.
All right.
Connections from the crypt.
We really have to let the laugh go
Yeah.
out there, but
just keep it in, man. So yeah, looking back to our previous episodes, I was only I was able to find one connection, surprisingly, from 1941. This being the oldest movie we've done. This actually ties into The Devil's Rejects.
What?
Yeah, it's actually ties into Rob Zombie's The Devil's Rejects. Bela Lugosi, who played
Bela.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bela. And
it's a very memorable role.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Has his own name.
Yeah.
It's like somebody named Frank being called Frank.
Exactly. So yeah, he actually ties into he did some self. He is, I think on IMDb, it's actually he is referenced in like just as archive footage, 114 credits. He ties into one of our previous episodes, The Devil's Rejects, once again in archive footage. So that is the direct connection. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is currently on that side.
I don't really recall from Devil's Rejects.
They were like watching a scene, maybe.
Well, yeah, maybe it was like a scene from a
Planned
movie
Mountain
or
something. Or
Yeah, that's what it was.
I don't know, it's been a while since we watched it, so I don't remember.
It was like probably a few seconds, but they showed it enough to where they
so
had
it's
to
credited.
credit it.
Yeah.
Maybe in that monster ride that Captain Spaulding took him down.
Yeah.
Well, no,
that's
that
possible.
was in House of a Thousand Corpses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the famous murder
Oh
ride.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Aside from that, no, it's just Bela Lugosi. Going back to the Devil's Rejects episode.
All right, so I'll go ahead and throw to the next segment. Will, that's you.
So in this one, I mean, it's like a handful of the other ones we've done before. You could go 3 or 4. So Jenny at the beginning had her throat ripped out.
Yep.
Bella got beat to death.
Yeah. As a German Shepherd, wolf.
The Undertaker had his throat ripped out.
Yeah.
And then if you want to count Larry as getting beat to death.
Yeah, I think we can go with that. Because as a standalone movie, there might have been further explanations in the sequels that came after this. But as far as this movie is concerned, self-contained, at the end, I'm pretty sure you're left to assume that he's dead.
Considering that the exact same thing happened to Bella and he died.
Yeah. All right, so that naturally goes into our last little segment here. And Smoke, that's for you.
Gore score.
Nice and gooey.
Yeah, is that nice and just nasty for you?
Yes. Well, although for this movie, it doesn't really, we're at a flat 0.
Yeah.
But this is 1941, so you can't expect any gore from a 40s film. So there's the scene, like I said, the throat gets slashed out, but that is, it's off camera, of course. The beating with the canes are on camera, but set such as that you can't really see. You don't see, the cane hitting flesh.
It's not
or anything
gory
like that.
in the sense of blood flying everywhere and all that.
Yeah, we're talking about classic horror movies. You're not going to have any gore from that era. So it's a 0. So take that with any parents out there watching these, listening to these podcasts, and maybe want to show some to your kids or something. You can kind of go by the gore score and the kill counts and things like that. So this one, of course, you can it's
and
it's
makes
safe.
it makes it a little bit more difficult too with this one because it doesn't even have a rating.
Yeah.
It just says passed.
Yeah, it was way before.
It was
the ratings,
okay.
so.
Here we go. I'd say it would depend on age, of where your kid is mature wise, because you do see 3, possibly 4 on-screen deaths. So depends on where they're at mentally, mature wise, But yeah, I have to agree. Probably 0, no more than a 1 for sure, because there's nothing truly gory. So, all right, I guess that'll pretty much wrap it up here. So we'll go ahead and tease what we're going to be watching next week, in 2 weeks, our next one. As far as the Summer of the Wolf series is concerned, we're going to be watching Wolf Cop from 2014, which, like I think we said before, like only Will, you were the only one that hadn't watched it yet. So this one's going to be a treat. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this one for sure. I can guarantee you that. I'll go ahead and read the IMDb synopsis before we check out here. As a series of strange and violent events begin to occur, an alcoholic policeman realizes that he has been turned into a werewolf as part of a larger plan. So that sets it up about as good as you can. But there's way more than that to it. And once you sit down and watch it, so go on and check out. Like it says here, you can watch it free on IMDb TV, which I think like you can watch through like Amazon Prime. And I'm sure there might be some other ways, but I see that one right away here. So. Go out and watch that, and be ready for the next episode. So I guess that's it, guys. I mean, it's been fun having everybody in studio for a change, not over Skype
definitely.
and everything. And hopefully we can do this more often. For Donnie, for Will, Professor Smoke, I'm Josh. We are the All-American Spook Show Podcast. And come back next time for Wolf Cop.
Please replace the speaker on its rack when you're ready to leave. Failure to do so will damage both the speaker and your car. We'll be grateful, and so will the patrons who follow you.